So hey everyone, today we are going to talk a conversation between a Pakistani guy and a American woman, and they will just ask each other some questions which they think are weird, and people think, or not weird, but they think about them, but they don't really express them. The idea here is that we all have myths in our heads, which we don't really clear, and they become like bigger and bigger, like cancer. And I think it's really important to ask these questions. So, what are those crazy questions you have, girl, in your mind about Pakistan, if any? Like, okay, what are the three things which come to your mind the moment the word Pakistan comes to your mind 3 years ago? Not today, because 3 years ago we were, not having 100,000 Pakistanis on your Facebook.
Well, most of Pakistan is filled with terrorists.
Okay, 200 million terrorists? Wow.
Right.
That's a lot of terrorists.
Well, I mean, it's not rational. I didn't think about it. I wasn't thinking consciously or very logically about it. You just, when you hear Pakistan, you think it's a problem. It's not somewhere you want to go. You aren't going to be safe there.
Number two?
Number two, that women are really suppressed.
What does that mean, suppressed?
It means that
Walked on?
Yeah, just they're not considered equals. They're not treated like equals. They're not, they're one notch better than a slave, but not far from it.
Number three?
That the men in Pakistan are pretty lazy.
What would make you think that? But
Just
this is now or this 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
Oh.
Just that, and that's why they're all terrorists. Because
They just want to go and explore themselves. They just don't want to do anything.
right, the women take care of the household. They don't really want to work, and they're unhappy with their economy and their life, and they get really unhappy because it affects their home life, and it affects them, and it affects their villages and their towns and their communities, and they strike back.
So what are the answers? Number one?
Before
Everybody's a terrorist.
going to that, I wanted to know, like, on the first thing you said that 3 years ago you were thinking that if somebody used the word Pakistan, the blast
Speak
and
louder.
bombing, everything was coming in your mind. So I wanted to know, like, what was the what are the things from where you were getting those knowledge, like, because if you are thinking that 3 years ago, if you were thinking that Pakistan is a place like where everybody is bombing or terrorism and everything, so I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people in the US or around the world, they were having the same picture for Pakistan 2 years ago, or maybe now also. So I wanted to know, like, what exactly the road is.
Well, I mean, I don't think that shows like Homeland, are helping because, popular TV likes to portray certain countries and likes to,
like, is that a media or the school?
it has to do with media. I mean, I hate to
university?
say that because I don't want it to sound like, we've always had a certain amount of our media that's fake media, fake news, fake, or intentionally biased reporting, right?
Right.
And so, but in popular programming, they take those biases and exploit them. And so, you look at a show like Homeland, and it makes it look like Pakistan is a pretty frightening place all the way around. And poor Carrie, she's always like putting herself in these dangerous spots. So, it's one of those things where I think it's just popular. It's memes. It's popularism. It's not, and it's if you don't have any contact with the country and it's not your focus, and you have no reason to think globally or to be concerned with that region or have any connection, it's kind of whatever comes in is the only experience you've had of it, right? Because how do you learn? You learn through your senses. So if you hear, see, touch, feel something, you don't have to do it very many times to have some memory of it, right?
So it's changed, like, after 3 years. For example, when you start talking with people in Pakistan, or when you start learning things about Pakistan, or when you start searching about Pakistan on internet, then it's something like happen and it changes your mind.
Well, right, because the more you can experience something the more likely you are to be less afraid of it because you become more familiar with what it is or it isn't, or at least more curious about it. And so the best, fastest way you can become different is to be exposed. Just like staying with me in my house,
Right.
you'll leave and have a different impression, good or bad, of what America is like
Right.
because of being here, right? And so when you start to talk to people from another country, once you get past your fear of doing that and some of the quirky things that can happen that may or may not be representative of that country, you start to open yourself up. You start to realize, and you've asked me a question that, I don't know that I would have said that in a party. I would have got up and said, yeah, I think everybody in Pakistan is a terrorist. That really isn't what I thought, but it was the only symbols I had of Pakistan. There was no other reflection of Pakistan to me, because it's not something I thought about.
So I would like to give the answer. So the first thing which you mentioned about terrorism, it may be because like 3, 4, or 5 years ago the people were not so much connected from Pakistan to the US, or the people were not on Facebook as they are now, and maybe because they are coming towards the social media and the social world, and they are sharing their daily life pictures, videos, and everything. So the people who are connected with them, now they are realizing that it's not Pakistan is not a terrorist country. Like there are humans
Oh,
who are,
a lot of
Yeah.
people still think that.
Yeah, but
they
it-
unfriend me, so I know that people still think that, and it's really frightening to me because it's one person at a time, one family at a time, one community of friends at a time. It's not, you can't lump everything like that together. However, people have only so much bandwidth, so much interest, and if Rehan hadn't come along right when he had come, I don't know that this would still be happening, because my personal world and interests in life shifted, which caused a conversation with Rehan to open me up more than it might have. I might have just as easily, if it had been 4 or 5 years prior to that, been like, really interesting guy, travels all over the world, from Pakistan. No, I'm not going to let 1,000 people in on my Facebook page. He's a nice guy, never talk to him again, right?
Right.
And so it's also that my interests were shifting. I was more open at the time that he came along to suggest it, and not everybody on Facebook is open in that same way for different reasons.
Right. So what I understand is it means like people from Pakistan needs to make more friends outside Pakistan, because in Pakistan everybody knows how the country is, how the city is, how the people are living, but the people who are outside the country, they need to understand what people are doing.
And you guys are way ahead of America, because most Americans don't want the same thing, okay? And I think that's the problem, is that you're very progressive in that regard, and you have an openness to friendship that Americans do not always demonstrate, not consistently as a broad generalization, right? There are lots of Americans who do, but there are a lot who don't. I remember being on a flight coming home from Europe from a vacation once, and when we got down to JFK, everybody on the plane applauded, and I didn't, but I was just like, it's like, oh, we're back in America. Like, this is and I heard comments like, oh, I'm so happy to be home, and it's just kind of like, it's not that I'm unhappy to be home, that sense of coming home, but I don't feel disconnected in most foreign places because I connect to the people who I'm there with, or the reason I'm there. And so it's a very strange thing to me to be so protective of our country and so interested globally in helping other people, but not being willing to extend that onto a personal level. And that's where I've had conflict with some of my friends. I'm like, you say you want to make sure the world's a safer place. You say you want to embrace more cultures and be diverse and open-minded, and yet you aren't open-minded enough to take 10 new friends and you don't know and see if any of them you share common interests with because they're from a country or a city that scares you or that you don't understand. It's kind of weird, People are weird.
So the second thing you mentioned, that the people, the girls, especially in Pakistan, the girls are not
ladies
working, right?
in general, yeah.
Maybe 3 to 5 years ago, it was like there were a couple of percent, like maybe 20 to 30% girls were working in the cities, But nowadays we have like a lot of girls who are like a lot of girls working in different fields, different communities and everything. Especially in the last 2 years, you can say they hire. Normally, companies try to hire, like for example, if a company hiring like 100 people, so they prefer to have like 50 people, 50 girls and 50 boys. So when we have in our
Gosh,
country,
but my experience when I look on so many of the pictures, people will send me pictures of different organizations, and I can't list them all, but there are a lot of them on my pages, and I never see women. My first comment almost always is, "Where are the women?" You know.
mostly girls are not comfortable showing up their faces on Facebook or on the pictures.
I thought they were. I got the impression they're kind of prohibited from doing it. That they're not to be,
In
because
some-
like like in the UAE, a friend of mine runs a very successful incubator called Women Able, great incubator, and her women are doing amazing things there. But they've gotten pushback from some of the mosques saying these girls are too visible, they're too much on stage, they shouldn't be in all these videos, and really pushing back on them. I don't know if UAE is not Pakistan, but I'm wondering, is that similar? Is that?
Kind of a similar, yes. But nowadays you can see a lot of girls and like they do hijab and everything, but they they take pictures. Somehow they don't put on social media, but a lot of girls put their photos and everything on social media.
Is that because why?
It's because they are somehow in some families are very restrict their girls to do not put their face on or the cell phone numbers on the social media. So
The cell phone number to me is different than their face.
like
Why?
face also, like just for the safe side, they wanted to keep their daughters and the girls to make sure like they don't face any problems, because sometimes it happens like the people, if when the girls make their IDs on Facebook, for example, and they put their face and the other information, so the other people stolen their like pictures, copy their pictures and make a
Right.
new ID for.
But do their
for that.
brothers and husbands and fathers put their faces on Facebook?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So, and they are not worried about their safety or being protected, or?
They are, but in our community, in our culture, we give more, you can say, priority, or we, like, if man is doing something wrong, then they are responsible for themselves. But if daughter or girl is doing something wrong, then parents needs to be responsible for that, because they are the one who are like who raised them.
Okay. So if I'm
like
if I'm a girl, I have to ask for permission in Pakistan, correct? If I want to consider marrying or I want to date someone, you can't date in Pakistan, right?
You
It's-
can make
it's-
friends.
Right.
Like if you're going in a university.
But girls
or
and
in a
boys don't go
college,
out together much,
They
unless
do.
they're in groups.
They
Always
do.
in groups,
They do. Yeah.
but not alone.
Sometimes, no, they are not allowed to go in a group also, but in some communities and in some families they have like less restriction. For example, if I have a lot of friends in the US,
Uh-huh.
but not everybody. If I ask my other friends that I can come and stay to their houses, then they might think over and over. But for example, I have a couple of good
They
friends.
might think what?
They might think that they need to allow me to come and stay with them, or they will gonna say something that they cannot do it or something. But I have some friends. If I say, for example, if I say Suzanne that I can come and I can stay with her, so she will not gonna think about it. She will say, yeah, sure, come. Similarly, in Pakistan also there are a couple of families. There are there is a small percentage where where they allow their daughters and the girls to go and hang out with friends, and it's like they are more open minded.
Mm-hmm.
They have more, you can say, they have more trust. They
Mhm.
have more belief on their daughters, their family members. They have more, they think that they have show their daughters that
Mhm.
what are the good things, what are the bad things, and what if you do, like what are the problems you will face if you are going on this track, and what are the problems you are going to face on this track. So there are places, for example, if the girls are going in the university, they do have like friends, and they do hang out in groups,
Mhm.
which is okay.
So what happens if a girl is defiant and doesn't follow her family? What if, I mean, because I've been told, for example, that the reason that I will get on Facebook, which it's slowed down a lot because I've really focused on trying to get people to speak to me publicly, but that men will approach me privately and I'll be like, I don't want to chat like this. And I've been told the reason they do that is because they're not supposed to be talking to women. Like they
Right.
shouldn't be talking to a woman, even publicly, one-on-one, that it's not okay. I mean, you have to understand in America, we think that is really weird.
Right,
Like,
right.
it's not normal here.
Right. It's actually depend like it depends like which.
So you're
what
doing
kind of
something
family
weird,
they
right?
are.
Because you're talking to me.
For me, maybe
You're
someone
married.
yeah, but my wife doesn't stop me to speak with the customer. I'm just talking with you. I'm not flirting with you. I'm not doing anything
Right,
bad.
I understand.
So-
But doesn't society, don't some parts of society judge you because they're like, shame on you, you shouldn't be doing this with me, we shouldn't be
I mean,
talking.
I'm not abusing you. I'm not saying anything bad to you. I'm not saying
No.
anything bad to anyone.
Right,
I'm just
but-
having a conversation. So if anybody thinks I'm doing wrong, then it's their problem. That's not my problem. Does
But
it make sense?
would somebody out there possibly think that? From
Definitely,
Pakistan?
yes.
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 They would think that.
They will definitely. They will think a lot of things, like why I'm staying in somebody else, why I'm sitting with you. So I mean, I cannot make everybody happy.
No, I
I
understand, but that's a very interesting thing, because
I mean, that's just, for example, if 100 people are watching the video,
yeah.
then maybe 20% will say that why I'm staying to somebody else's house, why I'm sitting with you, like I'm so close to you right now. So maybe 20% people will think about it.
Right. So